In every corner of the world, there are legends of cryptids and creatures. Antarctica, the southernmost continent on Earth, is no exception. This desolate continent has been shrouded in mystery, conspiracy, and intrigue since its modern discovery in 1820. Its vast icy expanse holds many secrets, some of which may never be uncovered. However, there are some curious tales to be found here, such as the story of a terrifying and dangerous creature known as Organism 46b that lies hidden beneath the ice. Before we begin, if you enjoy stories about the strange and unexplained, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon for notifications when I post new videos. Let's go. This story begins in 2016 when an article came out claiming to have leaked information about a dangerous, intelligent, and unknown animal found under the Antarctic ice sheet. This article came from a defecting Russian scientist named Anton Padalka regarding this apparent shocking discovery by his team of scientists during an expedition to Vostok Station. Now, Vostok Station was originally constructed by the Soviet Union in 1957. Decades later, in 1974, the Soviets discovered that deep below the ice was Lake Vostok, Antarctica's largest subglacial lake. This lake is over 12,000 feet below the ice and covers almost 5,000 square miles. The depth of the lake itself averages over 1,400 feet, so who knows what could be hiding there. The scientific prospects of exploring this lake are also exciting and could also serve as a basis to understand how life might form on other worlds or extreme environments, such as icy moons like Europa and Enceladus, which orbit Jupiter and Saturn respectively. According to the story, drilling began in 1982 to get down to the lake, which itself took 30 years to complete. On February 5th, 2012, the research team at the time, led by Dr. Padalka, finally broke through into Lake Vostok. They were unsure of what they might find there in this unique ecosystem cut off from the rest of the world for millions of years. However, there were predictions that new and undiscovered species of life would almost certainly be present based on previous findings deep in the ocean and in other extreme environments. Now, here's where the story takes a dark turn. Supplies and equipment were sent down to the bottom of the borehole, which opened up onto the shorelines of the lake, followed by an 8-person team of scientists. But as they neared the lake, they mysteriously lost radio contact with the surface. Despite this setback, Padalka and his team decided to push forward and conduct their first preliminary dive into the lake. Little did they know, they were about to spend the next 5 days fighting for their lives. Later that day, one of the divers saw this large creature swimming in the distance, but it seemed to notice him and started coming closer. It then appeared to release this substance into the water, almost like how an octopus ejects ink. However, whatever this was put the diver into a trance-like state, completely paralyzing him. The creature swiftly came up and unleashed an array of tentacles at the diver. Its tentacles then wrapped around his head and tore it clean off. It then popped it into its mouth while the rest of the dive team members watched helplessly. At that point, what could they do? So they escaped as quick as they could. The science team dubbed this vicious predator Organism 46b and learned that it was able to release this venom that could paralyze its victims from at least 150 feet away. Padalka described this creature as resembling an octopus, but with 14 tentacles instead of 8, and it was massive, measuring in around 33 feet long. However, this creature had far more disturbing abilities than your run-of-the-mill cephalopod. It was extremely intelligent and would adapt to the science team's different tactics of trying to capture it and defend themselves from it. Similar to its octopus cousins, it too could camouflage itself with its surroundings thanks to its chromatophores on its skin, making it almost impossible to detect it as it was stalking the team. Padalka also realized that based on how intelligent this creature was and how it was toying with them, it must have been behind their radios not working. Somehow it knew the radio equipment was a lifeline out of there, and it wanted to trap the team. Organism 46b could also contort its body to mimic different shapes. At one point, another team member met his fate when he was tricked into thinking he was seeing another team member in the water, and when he got too close, it turned out to be Organism 46b, which had morphed its body into a human shape. When he got too close, its tentacles then sprung into action and made quick work of the scientist. Another horrific ability this creature had was that its limbs could continue to operate autonomously, even if separated from its body due to each tentacle having its own neural network. You see, Padalka stated that the only female on the team managed to actually chop off one of the creature's tentacles during an attack. However, in the evening, while the team slept, the severed tentacle was able to reanimate and work its way towards the female team member and get revenge by strangling her. Not only that, but Organism 46b had already begun regenerating its lost appendage, and they thought that its severed tentacle, much like a worm, would also regrow an entire new body and different creature altogether. After spending 5 long days struggling to survive and battling against this monster, they managed to actually capture it in a tank that had been lowered down prior to their arrival. The surviving scientists then made it back to the surface, expecting to be greeted as heroes and recognized internationally for discovering this new creature. However, the military had arrived and had other plans. The story goes that Organism 46b was taken back to Russia, while the borehole to Lake Vostok was closed up for good. The government got ahead of the team, and the chief of Vostok Station, A.M. Yelagin, stated that there was nothing much down there, I can assure you. Additionally, the director of the Russian Antarctic expedition, Valery Lukin, explained that sealing up the borehole was a routine precaution. Meanwhile, after fleeing Russia for Switzerland, Padalka claimed that the Russian government was planning on experimenting on this creature for military purposes, of course, such as weaponizing its paralyzing venom, along with its shape-shifting and camouflaging abilities, and potentially cloning the creature, which Padalka stated could have devastating consequences for mankind. Now, this all sounds like the plot of a B-movie film, and if you guess that's what this was, then you're not far off. You see, this story, however fantastic and scary it seems, was actually all made up by the writer Michael Forsyth. And it was such an interesting story that it had many people convinced that something really happened in Lake Vostok back then. But how probable could a story like this be? Well, it turns out that ice core drilling only makes a hole a few inches across, never mind something big enough to lower a team of 8 humans down a 2-mile deep borehole, along with equipment and a tank large enough to hold a 30-foot long creature. There would also have been the issue of divers not being affected by toxins, as they would need to be wearing airtight pressurized dive suits. Additionally, the water of Lake Vostok fills the entire glacial cavity it's in, so there wouldn't be an ice shelf or rocky outcropping or shore to set up on and camp out. Although this story is fiction, the drilling into Lake Vostok isn't. You see, Russian scientists actually did break into the lake, and they actually found life down there. But it wasn't a mutant octopus, it was bacterium that was unique to that environment and not related to any known groups elsewhere in the world. And that is super interesting. Thanks for hanging out with me today. My name is Jeff, and this is Strangeology. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and share the channel. If there is a story that you want to hear about, or you have your own story that you want to share, make sure to leave a comment or head on over to strangeology.com/contact. Don't forget that Strangeology is also a podcast. I post episodes here on my channel, but you can listen to them on any podcasting platform out there if you're looking for deep dives into 14 topics or interviews with authors, researchers, and experts who deal with the strange and unexplained. And don't forget to check out my merch down below, and I have even more available on my shop linked in the description. And if you enjoy discussing the strange and unexplained and want to be part of a growing community of like-minded individuals talking about and sharing topics like this one and more, you can join my Discord at discord.io/Strangeology. And if you're looking for another way to support Strangeology, please consider becoming a member here on the channel. I also have a Patreon where you can become a member starting at $1 per month. And the higher the tier, the more perks you get, like early access to new videos and podcast episodes that are ad-free, and extra content with Strangeology Beyond, the members-only portion of my podcast, which is sometimes a whole extra episode or an extension of my main show twice a month. There's also exclusive merch and even a t-shirt of the month club. And big thanks to all members of my Patreon. Your support helps keep the lights on here at Strangeology HQ. You can head on over to patreon.com/Strangeology or go to the link in the description. I hope to see you there. All right, that's all for me for now. So until the next time, make sure to take care of yourselves and each other and keep it strange.